Another important influence was by the Japanese, and Japanese, they had huge empire at the previously, and before the World War II, Japan had huge influence. It was Imperial Japan, and these Japan was very powerful, and they launched many wars against China, and conquered, annexed Korea and Taiwan from China. Um, in World War II, Japan launched an invasion of mainland China in the Second Sino-Japanese War, in which Manchuria was annexed, and the Japanese has carried out many you can say human right violations in China. For example, the Nanjing massacre and Unit 731. So, but ultimately, what happened in the World War II, that United States of America used nuclear weapon against Japan, and Japan was out of the war, and Japan ultimately surrendered against the United States of America. So the US launched a nuclear strike with these bombers, and before the nuclear attack, you can see Nagasaki and Hiroshima, and after the nuclear attack, these areas were totally devastated, and the US created dominance at that time. So the bomb which hit Hiroshima actually killed about 80,000 people instantly, and the city of Hiroshima was totally devastated. It was destroyed. But the Japanese are, they are very, powerful people, and they rebuild it now again. And the Japanese are also the fourth largest economy in the world right now. So, but the Imperial Japan's bitter memories are still fresh in the minds of the Chinese and the Koreans. Japanese carried out mass murder and rape, against the Chinese residents, and many hundred and thousands of people were killed in 6 weeks. Brutal massacre. According to different estimates, the Japanese carried out extrajudicial killing of about 300,000 Chinese. This was, a huge, you can say, setback for the Chinese. So those bitter memories are still fresh in the China's mind. If you analyze now today China's aggressiveness against Japan, so you will understand that it was because of the historical, you can say, background of the Japanese influence over East Asia. So those memories are still fresh in the minds of the Chinese, and this is one of the reasons that Chinese are very much aggressive against Japan in East Asia and beyond. Another important thing which which was there at that time, Japanese actually established a secret unit. It was Unit 731, and this unit was aimed to carry out biological and chemical warfare by Imperial Japan. So Japanese, they experimented their germ warfare on Korean citizens, and according to different analysis and estimates, they killed about 580,000 people, and mostly they were the Koreans. So according to the American historians, more than 200,000 people were killed by the Unit 731 of Imperial Japanese Army. According to estimates, every year more than 3,000 men, women, and children were subjected to inhuman experimentation by the notorious Unit 731 based in Japan. So Japanese used to carry out, experiments of their chemicals, experiments of their biological weapons, germs on the people, on innocent people. So this was, I think, this was very important thing, and this is the background which which is still fresh in the minds of the Koreans, of course, North Koreans and the South Koreans, and of course in the minds of the Chinese. So they have not forgotten these atrocities by the Japanese. Japan's imperial dream was the greater East Asia. They wanted to expand. They wanted to conquer all these countries like Korea, Taiwan, and much of Eastern China and Manchuria, Hong Kong, Vietnam, Southeast Asia. But ultimately, the US nuclear weapon, the US dropped nuclear weapon on Japan, and because of that, the Japanese Imperial Japan, their plan could not, they could not materialize their plan, and they ultimately surrendered. So after that, the Japanese were, since then, the Japanese are under the influence of the United States of America. The US and the Soviet Union took control of Japan's former colony, Korea, and divided their own respective ideologies, resulting in the division of Korea. So United States of America and Soviet Union, when they defeated Japan and captured Korea, so they divided Korea into two. The North Korea went to the Soviets because the Soviets were communists, and the North Koreans were also communist. And the South Koreans went to the US and the United States of America. They started controlling that, started administrating that particular area. So that actually generated a very, very lethal war between North Korea and South Korea in 1950s. The North Koreans, with the support of Soviet Union and China, they wanted to merge South Korea with North Korea, and they wanted to end this particular division. So to achieve that particular thing, the North Koreans, initiated a war against South Korea. They attacked South Korea, and they almost, controlled that particular in South Korea as well. So this was the person who actually launched this war, and the United States of America, soon after that attack by the North Koreans, came for the help, and with the UN, mandated force, United States of America fought back against the North Koreans. So the US and the South Korean forces, they were pushed to very, very, you can say, deep inside South Korean territory. But near Busan, they were pushed to near Busan, as you can see on the map as well. So they were pushed from these areas to Busan. So after that, United States of America, which was a huge power at that time, United States of America launched an attack from Incheon. This was the central area, and the American counter-attack was launched by their amphibious warfare ships, and the Americans used, modern weapons and equipment and all those capabilities which are required for any offensive operations. So this attack by the United States of America actually saved South Korea, and the Chinese were also interfering at that time. But the US gave a nuclear ultimatum because of that. The Chinese were barred from, from any further intervention. So what happened actually? The ceasefire was carried out between the North Koreans and the South Koreans, and the hostilities ended at that time. So armistice took place, and this area, the line which was drawn between the North Koreans and South Koreans, was known as 38th parallel line, and this particular armistice actually ended the conflict between North and South Korea, but it does not end the root cause of the problem. The North Koreans has always been aggressive, and they build focused on their military with the support of China, and of course with the support of Soviet Union. And slowly and gradually they built themselves, and today they are a nuclear weapon state. In 2006, they detonated their first nuclear device, and now they are nuclear weapon state. Then what happened? Heavily armed 2.5-mile demilitarized zone separating North and South Korea exists to this day. आज भी this area is there. Or in this particular war, United States of America emerged as a victor, and their political standing and their political stature in the world also improved. Why? Because the US lost about 36,000 American soldiers in this war, and this was a huge, you can say, setback for the US. But at the same time, United States of America proved that United States of America can be an able ally of other states. So the US political standing improved in the world. And